All right, everyone, episode 101 today. If you like the Q&As, please hit that like button right now before we get into the first question. I need help in the algorithm. You know this. And since I ate 100 chicken nuggets today on camera, I deserve it. Right? Right. When training delts, do you prefer to focus on pressing or isolation movements? What has worked best for you? Nothing has worked for me. My shoulders are one of my worst body parts. That said, it's just sort of a false dichotomy, man, because you're never going to get the best results for your shoulders by only doing one or the other. Lateral raises maximally train only the side delt. Vertical presses maximally train only the front delt. So you need a combination of both if you want maximal size in the front and side delts. You have to do both. Do you believe that polygraphs are a reliable tool to use as a part of a drug testing protocol for natural shows? Well, they're better than nothing, and when used in conjunction with actual drug testing, it's going to help you catch a higher percentage of people. Polygraphs obviously aren't infallible, but they can definitely be useful and help catch some people. But honestly, man, if you guys have to at some point stop caring about the natty or not thing. It's like watching Jerry Springer on daytime TV. You're just wasting your time. It doesn't matter. Here's the reality of the situation. You are more likely to catch somebody on like 500 milligrams of testosterone than you are to be competing on a level playing field with somebody that has Ronnie Coleman genetics. Frankly, I think that a lot of people who get obsessed with the natty or not have just never competed in anything seriously in their entire life. Because let alone sports, if you competed in like math contests or chess, you would realize that there are some people that are so naturally talented, all the drugs in the world can't make up for it. To me, one of the most ironic things about the quote-unquote 10,000 hour rule, which comes from a study done by Eric Anders, is that people will say, oh, look, this study showed that you can become a master at anything if you put in 10,000 hours. But if you actually read the study, what the study showed is that on average, it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. If you dial in on chess, for example, there are certain individuals that took 3,000 hours of practice to become a grandmaster. Others, 5,000. At the far end of the continuum, there was people that took 25 to 30,000 hours to become a grandmaster. That talent gap is insurmountable. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me and disagree with me for saying this, but when it comes to genetics are far more important than even moderate drug use. I am fairly confident that at anything like less than a gram, hell, I might even say 2 grams of total anabolics is going to be less important than the difference between average genetics and truly elite genetics. I am so confident that 99% of people, maybe with some 0.9s in there on the decimals, could not catch Phil Heath or Ronnie Coleman's best natural physique if they were allowed to use unlimited drugs. They would still lose to them on a bodybuilding stage. So really, it doesn't matter if somebody like Russell Orhe is natural or not. You're never going to hit his powerlifting numbers anyway. The genetic gap is huge. I know a lot of you are going to call bull, but guess what? I'm one of the very few people who's going to listen to this that has actually been natural for 10 plus years and who has also used 2 grams of gear. And I know what it does and what it doesn't for most people, and you don't. You're just speculating. Here's the bottom line on this for me, in my opinion. You just have to remember that just because something is possible naturally, it doesn't mean it's possible naturally for you. This is no different than football, like thinking that, just because you and, Pele are both human beings, that you can achieve the same skill level with enough effort. Why would it be any different in lifting weights? Why would you think that, like in basketball, that you could be as good as LeBron James, who is 6'8", 200 centimeters tall plus with incredible athleticism? Why would you think that if you just tried hard enough, you could be as good as he is naturally? Of course you can't. Fake natties are an increasingly rare phenomenon, man. Just focus on yourself. Is adding 5 pounds per workout too much on a 5x5 linear progression program if you're in a deficit? Probably, but this is an ultimate it depends question, because if you're like brand new to LP and you haven't even established PRs or anything yet, you're going to have a long period of being able to add 5 pounds just based off of improving your technique and having more coordination on the movement. So try it and see, but it's probably too much, especially for upper body lifts. What ratio of muscle to fat gain is worth it when massing? What rate of loss is worth it when dieting? So keep in mind that when they free feed sedentary individuals in studies, they gain 20 to 25% of each pound as lean body mass. Now that's not necessarily muscle, that's all non-fat mass, right? That's water, that's added glycogen, that's food in your stomach and digestive system, but it's also muscle. Now, when they diet people, typically we see something like 90% fat loss and 10% lean body mass loss in weight training populations. Keep in mind though, again, lean body mass is not muscle. So when we look at this in the real world, it's very possible on a cut to lose close to 100% fat after water loss differences are accounted for. So in my opinion, you should really think about making your bulks last a certain length of time rather than worried about what ratio of fat is acceptable, because you can't measure that anyway. If you are able to gain something like 2 pounds a month for 6 to 9 months as a natural, you're gonna have a favorable rate of gain at the end of the day after you diet. So to put this more succinctly, I think that almost any ratio is acceptable as long as you're not bulking too fast and gaining almost 100% fat. Let's say you bulked for an entire year and you gained 25 pounds at the end of the year. If 1/5 of that is just water and glycogen, we take away 5 pounds, we have 20 pounds left, right? Let's say you gained 3 pounds of muscle and the other 17 pounds were fat. By the time that you diet those 17 pounds of fat off and you've been in maintenance or a small surplus for 4 to 8 weeks, you will have regained any of the lost muscle. And so you will have netted 3 pounds of muscle in a year. Now that's not mind-blowing by any means, but it was still worth it because it's possible to diet without losing any muscle. So again, this is why I say that bulking is always worth it. And the only mistake that you can really make is doing things too fast. That goes both in terms of gaining weight and in terms of losing weight. Because when you gain weight too fast, you don't gain more muscle mass. There is an upper limit for muscle mass gained. And when you go above that, you gain 100% fat. 100% fat. And likewise, you shouldn't be trying to diet fast either, because when you diet fast, when you try to lose more than 1% of your body weight per week, that's where you start to see muscle losses occur. So as long as you are patient and you do things by the books and you're setting PRs on the way up during your bulk, you are going to net permanent muscle mass from every single bulk that you do. And as long as you don't diet too fast, that will always be the case, and it will always be worth it in the end at any ratio. What are the chances of getting rich off of trading in 2023? Honestly, pretty close to 0% unless you have a mentor that's already successful that can show you their exact method. And the facts are that 99.9% of frequent traders, usually known as day traders, lose money. They not only don't beat the Lipper averages, they literally lose money. And I mean, think about it. You're literally going up against hedge funds that sometimes control trillions of dollars of assets, that are using supercomputers that literally pay millions to lay fiber optic cable across oceans. And these high-speed computer programs are going for arbitrage opportunities. You really think you're going to beat that by staring at a chart with a few basic indicators? No. Alrighty, folks, that is the end of today's Q&A. So if you enjoy the Q&As, please remember to like it when it comes out on YouTube. If you'd like to become a more substantial supporter of the Q&A, you can become a Patreon member for $1 a month. I'll put a link somewhere here on the screen, or you can find that in the description box on YouTube. If you'd like to check out my ebooks or work with me for coaching, just go ahead and go to my bio on Instagram, and you can find links to both of those things in the description box on YouTube. I will be back on Tuesday for another training session. So until then, enjoy what's left here of the weekend. It's not much, and have a good Monday. Peace.